Hello friends, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365, and today I'm going to give you my top 10 movies from Paramount that I would like to see Kino Lorber release on 4K Ultra HD. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit that bell notification. You can also find me over Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, that Movie Guy 365. Okay, today I'm going to give you my top 10 movies from Paramount that I would like to see Kino Lorber release on 4K Ultra HD Blu Ray. If you're unfamiliar with the recent news, Kino Lorber and Paramount Pictures have entered into an agreement where the boutique label will release several movies on Blu Ray and 4K from the Paramount library. This in itself is very exciting news. Now, don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean that Paramount as a studio is going to stop releasing 4K discs. Far from it. They're just spreading some of those lesser known titles around, and when you have a boutique label such as Kino, they usually put out such stellar quality content. So this just gets my brain going to see what we could potentially see arriving. Now they've announced that they're going to do several Blu-rays, but we're going to focus on the 4K format for this particular video. And you know, also I've done previous videos where I would like to see top 10 movies from a particular studio, and I did one for Paramount. And actually going back to that video, about 80% of my top 10s were made into 4K. So it's sort of a sequel to that particular list. Now, unlike that previous Paramount video, I have to consider movies that I believe Kino Lorber would have the actual rights to. Now, from what I understand, there's about 16 or so titles that will be made from the Paramount movies on 4K. I think Blu-ray is over 30 or 40. And they've already announced one. That is Tropic Thunder, which is the first, film that is going to be getting the 4K treatment under this new agreement. So I want to stay true to what I feel are in that realm that Kino could pick up on. Now, you're not going to see a movie like Minority Report, because I firmly believe Paramount, when they eventually release that one, they're going to want to do it themselves. Big budgets, film, and I don't see that fitting under what typically gets under the Kino Lorber banner. So it's going to be a little bit of a tricky list to go through, but it's fun nonetheless. But of course, this will be my list. Yours will be very different. So I encourage you to put in the comment section below, what would you like to see from Paramount that Kino Lorber itself as a label could put out on 4K? All right, so let's not waste any time. Let's dive right into my number 10. For my first pick, that will go to Mel Gibson in Payback. Fans of the film will know that there are two separate versions of this movie, the theatrical, which is my preferred, and the director's cut. And it's also one of those films that, it actually fundamentally changes from one cut to the other. So it would be a very cool experience to get both versions on 4K. And with Kino Lorber, I could easily see this something that they would add to their particular library. Of course, with the upcoming release of Steven Soderbergh's Out of Sight, it fits right in that vein. And as I said, I am a fan of the movie. It's a crime drama, it's got some humor to it, and Mel Gibson plays Parker extremely well. But yeah, I see this one as a strong possibility. Hopefully we'll see it on the 4K format from Kino. So yeah, that is my number 10. At number 9, that is going to go to David Fincher's Zodiac. David Fincher on 4K is a rare thing, but I think a lot of people would agree that Zodiac is a much requested title, and whether Paramount or Kino Lorber releases it, I'm hoping that it is falling under the Kino Lorber boutique label. It's given more of a chance to arrive on the format. It's dark, moody, it's great, the cast is absolutely fantastic, and I think a new edition, regardless of the format, is warranted for this release. I'm a fan of the movie. I can't wait. I'm hoping that we do see this one under the new agreement. So yes, Zodiac on 4K is my number 9. My number 8 pick, that's going to go to Peter Jackson's The Lovely Bones. I feel this is one of the more underrated Peter Jackson movies. And while Paramount could release this on the format, I think Kino Lorber is an ideal fit. And it would bring a lot more visibility to this movie. It's got great visuals, it's an excellent drama, and the acting is fantastic. I just picked up the Blu Ray, but if we're going based off that, then a 4K announcement is imminent. But I think really, you know, I would like to see this one with the best possible quality. An HDR grading would just take this one way over the top. But yeah, I want to see this one under the Kino Lorber label. I think it would be right up their alley. So that is why it is my number 8. For number 7, that will go to Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. I was about 50-50 whether to include this on the list, only because I think Paramount could easily release this one on 4K. But if not, and it's not high on their priority list, give this one to Kino Lorber, no problem. I think they would do an excellent job. The musical itself is very dark, and the visuals equally so, so I think an HDR pass-through would just really look good. It would just sharpen up the look of the film immensely. But here's hoping an upgraded audio track, I think, would just be the chef's kiss. It would be awesome. I like the movie a lot. I think it's one of Tim Burton's, you know, once again, underrated films. But yeah, hopefully one day we'll see this one, and I think Kino Lorber is the label to make it happen. For number 6, that is going to go to Chinatown. One of the things that Kino Lorber does so well as a label is it takes classic films and brings a lot of attention, care, and quality to the 4K disc. And I believe this movie fits perfectly with what Kino Lorber does, and I would be very happy for this to arrive on 4K. For some reason, I always feel that the format edition of, you know, previous like Blu-rays and DVDs, it doesn't get a lot of love, this movie. And while they have had releases, I think that a 4K edition would just give this film the proper respect it deserves. Kino Lorber, I really believe this one is under what they have as an agreement, so I'm pretty confident this one will show up. But yeah, I mean, Jack Nicholson, Faye Dunaway, the noir style of the film, yeah, it's something that I think really will benefit well for a 4K disc. So yeah, Kino Lorber, let's make this one happen, and hopefully we'll see it one day. At number 5, that will go to Paul Thomas Anderson's There Will Be Blood. I was hesitant to put this one on the list, not because of the quality of the film. I think it's amazing. Daniel Day-Lewis makes a great lead. But because of Paul Thomas Anderson's, I would say, reported reluctance to releasing his films on 4K. So this one's probably going to stay on the wish list for a while, but I think it would make an amazing 4K disc. And if so, Kino Lorber is the right label to make this one happen. I think it has such a great visual quality, and a respectful HDR grading would put this one right over the top. Once again, this is purely a wish list in general, but this one even more so. But yeah, I think a 4K would fit right under the label, and you know, maybe one day, you know, miracles will happen. For number 4, that will go to Terrence Malick's Days of Heaven. The Criterion Collection Blu Ray went out of print about a year or two ago, and I could easily see Kino Lorber scooping this one up for their library. I think it fits for the label perfectly, and it is early Terrence Malick, so you have that going for it as some sort of pedigree, and I think a visual upgrade would just be most welcome, and I could easily see this one happening. I am a fan of the film, I'm a fan of the director in general, and one of his earliest movies definitely deserves a 4K disc. I'm hopeful this will happen one day, and yes, Days of Heaven, I could see this one being under the Kino Lorber label. My number 3 pick, that is going to go to another Hollywood classic, and this time it's Sunset Boulevard. Writer-director Billy Wilder has gotten a resurgence of his films on the formats, and Sunset Boulevard, one of his most iconic, definitely deserves its 4K release. I am a big fan of the movie. And a side note, black and white films look great on the 4K format. They look beautiful, and this one would be no exception. Look at Kino's recent release of Orson Welles' Touch of Evil. Beautiful transfer. So yes, Sunset Boulevard, I'm pretty confident it's going to be in this deal that Paramount has with Kino. So yes, let's check it out. Hopefully it's going to happen very soon. At number 2, that is going to go to Rosemary's Baby. When it comes to old school horror, I really think it's underrepresented on 4K as a whole, but why not take one of the most iconic horror films of its age and give it a great 4K release? I think Kino Lorber can handle this one very well. It's a little outside of what they typically do. You normally would see a horror film fall under Shout Factory, Scream Factory, Arrow Video, Synapse. But let's say Kino handles it for a change, and I think they would do an excellent job. With a good HDR grading, this one would really shine, and I think it would be a surprise announcement. I'm hoping we get a 4K disc of the film in general, but let's give this one a Kino Lorber and see how they run with it. Before I get to my number one pick, just a few quick honorable mentions. Anchorman. Look, when it comes to comedies on 4K, there are, once again, it's a very underrepresented genre, but I could see this one happening. You know, we got Tropic Thunder coming, so why not throw in Anchorman? That's really the only reason I'm confident putting this on as at least an honorable mention. So yeah, I'm hopeful we see at least this one and maybe the sequel. Sabrina, the classic Audrey Hepburn film, I think deserves a little bit more love. I recently watched the Blu Ray. It could use a little bit of work, and this would fall right under Kino Lorber's expertise. So I would like to see this one, and Audrey Hepburn on 4K. It's always a welcome thing. And finally, this is purely just shot in the dark. Better Off Dead. Look, it's a comedy. It's an 80s comedy, and I think it's got such a huge fan base. It deserves a new 4K disc. This is Wishlist speaking, purely, but I'm a fan of the film. I would love to see it on 4K. The Blu-ray's fine, but let's give it the extra bit of love. So yeah, those are just a few honorable mentions. And for my number one movie from Paramount that I would like to see get a 4K Blu-ray from Kino Lorber, that will go to Once Upon a Time in the West. I am a huge fan of this film. In fact, it is one of my all-time favorites, both as a Western and any genre, and I'm pretty confident, 99% sure, this was included in the deal with Paramount. I think this would look beautiful on the formats, and with Kino's recent release of the final two Man with No Name trilogy movies, it's right up their alley with, Sergio Leone films. This one, it's gonna happen. I'm just that sure of it. And I think Westerns as a genre is very underrepresented on the 4K format. So let's make it happen, Kino. Put this one on 4K, and I think a lot of people would agree. So those are my top 10 movies from the Paramount library that I think could arrive on 4K Blu-ray from Kino Lorber. It's an exciting time for physical media collectors. Boutique labels are really picking up the slack, and it's just something that I love talking about. But now it's your turn in the comments. What movies from the Paramount library would you like to see handled by Kino Lorber? Let's talk about it down below. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. So until next time, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365. I will see you at the movies.